Screen is visible to all of you?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any question before we formally start the class?
So can you please explain what does zero net operating cycle mean, or is it possible?
Okay. See, first of all, mathematically, can you see the movement of cursor? Last line?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Mathematically, under what condition will this be zero? These are three figures given, 1, 2, 3. Any combination of these figures can result in a zero figure here. Is it correct
Yes,
or not?
sir.
Okay. So when it is zero, first of all, let us understand what is the meaning of 40 days. Minus 40. Let us understand first with 60 days plus, then I'll explain to you zero and then negative. When you keep goods with you in stock, in godown, what happens? Your money remains blocked. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
So for how many days your money is blocked? 40 days. Now you have sold, but you did not get money. You have sold it for 40 days. So your money remains blocked for another 40 days. So you need working capital. You need working capital from some source for how many days? 40 plus 40, 80 days. So naturally, each day you take money from somebody or borrow, it will cost you in the form of interest. But instead of 80 days, you are also getting some credit from some other person for 20 days. That means on net basis, you require money for 60 days. You will not need money on day 1. You will need money after day 20th. Therefore, net operating cycle becomes this plus this minus this. If any combination of these is, let us say in this example, 60, that means you need money for 60 days. If this figure is changed, any of these figures changes in such a way that this becomes zero. That means you are availing credit for equal number of days, then you are extending. Or not extending, you are requiring money. See, look here, what is this word? Cash conversion cycle. In how many days your cash, your goods, inventory and all gets converted into cash. Lesser the cycle, better it is for the company. Earlier it gets money, better it is for the company. Late it pays, better it is for the company. And the question that yesterday I asked, and I think some of you have got the correct answers also. I did not post the answer, I only posted the name. It was rationality. When somebody is able to extend you credit and you want to pay immediately, it is not a correct approach, it is not a rational approach, because the money that you are saving, suppose somebody has extended you credit of 1 month and the amount is 1 crore. Why should you pay today? Instead, you can keep this money in a bank, you can invest somewhere, you can lend it to somebody and convert this 1 crore to maybe 100, maybe increase it by 5 lakh or 2 lakhs or 3 lakhs. So that is why that was an irrational decision to pay immediately when there is a possibility of getting credit. I hope it is clear to you now. If you have any further question, please ask. Yes, please. Any further question, or you need more explanation on this?
No, sir.
Okay. With one more example, I'll explain it to you. For the time being, you do not look at. Okay, let me just write it here and explain to you. Suppose credit extended for 50 days. Just look at this data. Credit extended for 60 days, availed for 70 days. What will be the implication? You will have money available with you for how many days?
20.
20 days. So if the gap is increased, better it is for you. And if the gap is decreased, suppose credit extended is 100 days and availed is 70 days. What does it mean? For how many days you will need money?
30.
That means you will pay interest on money for 30 days only. In other case, you will earn interest for whatever number of days we calculated. Okay? So this is how a net operating cycle can be explained or can be calculated and extended. Any further clarification, or shall we move on to the next ratio? We move on to the next ratio, which was the fixed assets turnover. Now, fixed assets turnover tells you the efficiency with which a company is using fixed assets. The efficiency with which a company is using fixed assets. Suppose, this I explained to you earlier also, knowledge or maybe information on the usage of assets is necessary because it tells you about the resources company has provided to you. So if you divide fixed assets, sales divided by fixed assets is the formula. Sales divided by fixed assets give you the answer of fixed assets turnover. Fixed assets to be divided are at written down value. WDV stands for written down value. What is this value? Written down value. This value is equal to fixed assets cost minus depreciation that you charge on the assets till date. So depreciation charge till date, if it is subtracted from the cost, it is called as request. People are making, but no request is pending here. So written down value means value of fixed assets minus depreciation charge till date. The answer is your written down value. So when we calculate fixed assets turnover, we take the value of sales and we take the value of fixed assets at written down value and divide one by the other. The answer is fixed assets turnover. For example, you have done and your answer is 6 times. You have calculated sales. Let us say sales was 1,000. Fixed assets were, you can assume any figure. Let us say sales was 10,000 and fixed assets were, let us say 600 or 6,000. So you get like this, anyway you can get the answer. So how do you interpret this? If this is 6 times, any times, how do you interpret that? What is the interpretation? Should this be more or less?
It should be more.
More, okay. What does more or less indicate?
So it means that
Go ahead. Yes.
So it means that for a unit value of fixed assets, 6 times of its revenue is being generated. So more the number.
Okay, per unit of fixed assets 6 times, or better we can say, if you have invested 1 rupee in fixed asset, it is generating sales of rupees 10. So higher the sales volume with a particular unit of fixed assets, better it is in the interest of company. So management or managers should strive at making optimum use of fixed assets. If a company has lot of space and it is not being used, so it is a waste. So that waste should be avoided. And how do you decide it is a waste or not? You will calculate various ratios and then you will come up with a solution. Okay. Now another group of ratios is profitability ratios. It determines how much profitable the company is. So you can calculate gross profit margin, net profit margin, investment turnover, return on investment. These are all the ratios that we can calculate under this heading. I'll explain to you one by one. Gross profit ratios or gross profit margin. You divide gross profit by sales, and if you multiply it by 100, you get a percentage. Let us say somebody's percentage is, some company's percentage is 35 and someone's percentage is 44. So which one will be considered better?
40.
40. You calculated net profit margin. Net profit margin is equal to net profit divided by sales, and that is 25%. Which company is better?
25.
25. If it is company A and it is company B, which one is better?
B.
Okay. Can you make one more observation? Do you observe something in respect of these two companies? Something very common, something very simple you can observe is that company A is spending, between these two companies, company B is controlling its administrative expenses of something of that sort can be thought of. But ultimately, bottom line is net profit margin. So company should try to reduce its expenses, indirect expenses, so that it can improve it. Or if you have this data for various years, that too will give you enough of insight. Or one can say, if it is the case of same company, that between 35 and 25 is the 10% margin which company is spending on indirect expenses. So once you have tabulated data, lot of important insight and decisions can be taken. So in the profitability group, gross profit margin, net profit margin, investment turnover. I have not written here full to save time. You can note it. It stands for investment turnover. So investment turnover is equal to sales divided by investment. Now we should know what is investment. Can you recall what is investment? Let me check if I have mentioned somewhere in the... Okay. I'll explain it here itself. Investment is equal to fixed assets plus net working capital. If you add net working capital to fixed assets, your answer is investment. And you know what is net working capital? What it is?
Current assets minus
Current assets minus current liability. So investment turnover can be calculated by dividing by sales. If you divide sales by investment, you get investment turnover. Another important ratio is return on investment. How do we calculate return on investment? Investment turnover that we have calculated just above, you multiplied by net profit margin that you calculated here. If we number them, for example, if it is 1, it is 2, it is 3, and it is 4, then what does 4 become?
2 into
4 is equal to 2 multiplied by 3. If you multiply the answer of 2 with the answer of 3, you get return on investment. This percentage or this ratio or this calculation is extensively used in all the companies. It's a very, very comprehensive indicator of the profitability as well as efficiency of the company. I have explained it in detail in slide, let me check, the slide number 52. When we reach here, I'll explain to you. So investment turnover can be calculated like this. Details I'll explain to you this one. So this is the multiplication of 2 with 3. Another ratio or another measure of profitability is EPS. EPS stands for earning per share. Earning per share. How do we calculate? Earning after interest and taxes. E stands for earning after interest and taxes. If this figure is divided by number of shares, which shares? You have several kind of shares. Which shares? Equity, preference, weight, or what?
Equity.
Only equity. So EPS is equal to earning after interest and taxes divided by number of equity shares. It gets you EPS. Then there is another measure of profitability which is known as DPS. DPS stands for dividend per share. So dividend per share is equal to dividend paid divided by number of shares. Dividend paid divided by a number of shares. For example, this is a simple calculation. Another ratio, another percentage or profitability measure is the dividend yield. So dividend yield refers to market price per share divided by, dividend yield is equal to dividend per share divided by market price per share. And it is usually expressed in percentage, so we may multiply it by 100. We may put both in bracket and multiply it by 100. So that gives you dividend yield. It is also comprehensively used ratio in the market, in the financial analysis. Then we have a ratio known as price earning ratio. Price earning ratio measures the relationship between the market price of a share and earning per share. What happens here? A little explanation is required. What happened? Dividend per share is calculated on the face value of a share. Face value can be 100, face value can be 10. While market price differs drastically. Face value of a company, for example, is 100 rupees. Market price could be 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, any amount. So from company's point of view, everything will be calculated on the face value, and this return, when calculated in terms of percentage of market price, it drastically changes. Therefore, PE ratio is calculated, that is price earning ratio is calculated, and price earning ratio tells you the relationship between the market price of a share and the dividend that the company is paying. PE ratio, okay, I have written it serial number 9. PE ratio is also known as price earning multiple. The other name of PE ratio is price earning multiple. We have one more ratio which we can calculate in this category. That is retention ratio. Retention means whatever company earned, out of which whatever it has paid, balance will be known as retention ratio. Simply, retention means what amount have you retained, whatever amount has company retained. If, for example, suppose EPS was 10, DPS was 6, so what will be retention?
4.
In terms of percentage, it will be 40%. In terms of percentage, it will be 40%. If it was 6 and it was 10, will there be any retention ratio?
No.
Yes or no?
No, sir.
If earning per share was 6 and dividend paid was 10, this is possible or not?
No, sir.
Okay. Any other answer?
Possible.
Okay. Explain why is it possible?
So sometimes to keep their market value of the shares high, they paid the dividend to keep good image of the company.
Okay. Let me ask you a question. Every month, your parents send you 10,000 rupees. Every month, your parents send you 10,000 rupees. Can you spend 12,000 rupees in any one of the coming months?
So if we have saved previously,
Yes,
then
if you have
we can.
saved in the previous month. Alternatively, if you can borrow from somebody, let us rule out the possibility of borrowing. Let us only concentrate on your own money. So yes, your answer is correct. You can spend 12,000 rupees provided you have savings in the of the previous several months. Same is true about the company also. This year it earned only rupees 6 per share, but in the past year it earned more and it has saved. You remember I explained to you the difference between reserves and surplus. Remember? What was the difference between reserves and surplus?
So reserves are kept for special use.
Special use. What could be the special use? One of the uses could be this dividend equalization. In the years when company earns better profit, more profit than normal one, it sets aside a certain amount, thinking that in our hard time, in our bad time, in our not so good time, we can make use of this money. So this is possible. Okay. So anything you wish to know about this slide, or shall I move on to the next one?
So I want to ask a question.
Sure.
So what does a higher dividend yield indicate?
Okay, higher dividend yield indicates that company is moving. I mean, the market price of the share of company is in the acceptable range. See, at times market price of a share grows exponentially, but that is in the form of bubble only. That is that after some time it may crash also. But if it is a reasonable one, then company the investors may feel that it is genuine one. Companies, the market price are subject to several factors. Market price of a company shares are subject to several factors: political, economic, company policies, management, advertisement. I mean, there is lot of factors can be, international factors, domestic can be attributed to the fluctuation in the market price of company shares. Sometimes they are genuine and sometimes they are created, they are manufactured, they are unethically raised. So only a good analyst can decide whether the increase in share price is genuine or they have been artificially created, or things like that. And any other question?
Sir, can you re-explain EPS?
EPS stands for earning per share. When earning after interest and taxes are divided by number of equity shares, your answer is earning per share. Now, earning per share also indicates about the profitability of the company. If company compared to other firms in the same industry or compared to its own record is maintaining a stable EPS, or maybe EPS which is continuously increasing gradually, it talks about or it shows about the good financial health of the company. Any other question? Okay, then you look at the data and see which company. I think you can discuss about it later because of the time paucity. I just wanted to you to apply some mind to how these things take place in the market. So had we in a sufficient time, I would have explained it, I would have discussed it. So you may this naturally I'll be sending you an email of this one uploading on the website or the classroom. You may perhaps read it later and can see clarification from me at the later stage. The idea was to explain to you these things which you asked just now, a few minutes ago. If you are willing to invest in one of these companies, which one would you like to invest in?
Sir, B.
Sir, C.
B, because of price earning ratio.
Because dividend per share is higher.
Okay. Okay. Or any other reason? What is this from D? Making earning 6 but paying only 2. What do you conclude about this firm?
They are earning a good amount, but they are paying less dividend.
Because
Sir, there will be more profit.
For customers interested in long-term
they have, yes, they may have good profitable opportunities and they are using this money for long-term investment. In fact, let me just give you a summary of this one. Answer of all of you in this respect can be correct. All of you. Why? Because the investment requirement of each one of you may differ. Some one of you could be a long-term investor, some you short-term investor, a short-term investor, somebody would like to invest for a specific purpose, somebody would like to invest for a different. Like this, depending on the need and requirement of the investors, they take decisions. So let me move on to the next slide. It was about explaining. Yes.
Sir, I have a doubt. Earlier you had told us that EPS should always be greater than DPS for liquidity reasons.
Perhaps no. Perhaps that could have been somewhere some misunderstanding. It can never be always more than this, like this situation, because company might have savings in the previous years because of which it has transferred those savings from the previous year and has paid more dividend. In this case, company earned 3, retained 1. Company earned 4. Whatever it retained in the previous year, part of it has taken out and paid 5. This earned 5 and paid 2. This earned 6 and paid 2. So this is very much possible because of the fact that the company B might have saved, not might have, definitely had saved in the previous years, and part of it has transferred to the current year. जो एग्जाम्पल अभी आपको मैंने दिया कि आप हर महीने 10,000 रुपीज रिसीव करते हैं, कि किसी महीने 12,000 खर्च कर सकते हैं, आप कर सकते हैं बशर्ते कि आपके पास पिछले महीनों के 2,000 या उससे ज्यादा सेविंग हो. तो यही इसके साथ भी है. Any other question? Or now you have this return on investment which I was explaining here.
मार्केट प्राइस का भी तो इफेक्ट लेके चलेंगे.
Say it again. Yes, please.
सर इसमें मार्केट प्राइस का भी तो सर इसमें मार्केट प्राइस को भी तो लेके चलेंगे जिसका ज्यादा.
Market price is subject to fluctuation. Market price could be more, could be high. As I said, it depends on several factors. And after analyzing those factors only, one can take a decision that the market price are genuine or not. Can you recall a TV artist, what was his name? Bhatia. Sardarji was there. I am forgetting his first name. Yes, tell me what was his first name? No, mic adjust कीजिए अपना. माइक एडजस्ट करके बताइए. Just write in the chat box. You can write in the chat box. So that TV artist, he used to prepare small videos of 5-7 minutes. In that he has not Ankur. As soon as I recollect, I'll tell you. He was Sikh by religion, so he used to. He was from Chandigarh, and unfortunately, about 5-10 years ago, he died in the road accident. So he used to make 5-7 minutes small videos. In one of the videos, he has very beautifully explained this share market business, how the prices fluctuate, how do people, artificially increase the prices. I'll let you know, and perhaps I'll provide you a link also of that video. You see that a lot of questions can be answered. Jaspal Bhatti, you're right, not Bhatia, I'm sorry. It was Jaspal Bhatti. So you search for his video on share price movement, on establishing a company, Red Ball Bear, something of that sort. He visited, he established a company, artificially increased the price. See, one of you has seen also this video. That must answer some of your questions. You do see that video, is a small video, 5-10 minutes only. Now we come back to the slides that we were presenting. This return on investment is a very comprehensive measure. I have explained it or tried to explain it using this slide. You consider that this slide is available in Microsoft Excel, and all the figures which I have typed in the bold fonts are formula driven. You are not typing these figures. These figures are a result of formula. For example, this 100, what would you have done? Sum this and this. 100 should come here like this. How should 600 appear here? You should write here sum this and so if you prepare an Excel sheet, enter this or any other data, provided these calculations which are in bold fonts are through formulae, then you will see that automatically your answer will be 30 if with these figures. And if it is in Microsoft Excel and this 200 is changed to 199 or 201, I'm sure that this 30 will also change. So what is the implication of using MS Excel and using this in this chart? The implications are, this is your entire balance sheet and entire profit and loss account. Any change you make in any of those figures changes your return on investment. So one can say, for this reason, it is the most comprehensive method of calculating, not most comprehensive, one of the most comprehensive methods of calculating profitability. So this is how return on investment can further be understood. ROI. This is also known as ROI, is also known as a DuPont analysis. Why is it known as DuPont analysis? Why do we call it DuPont analysis? It is called DuPont analysis because way back about maybe 50-60 years ago, this kind of analysis was used for the first time by DuPont company. That is the reason for calling it DuPont analysis or ROI. We move on to the next topic, unless you have some questions. If you have some questions, I'll stay. If not, I'll explain to you. Shall I explain next topic or you have some questions? If no questions, let me explain to you this next analysis of financial statement, next technique, that is fund flow statement. In this, I'll explain to you what do we mean by this and how do we prepare a statement. So, meaning of fund flow statement is that, like financial statements limitation, one of the limitations of financial statement is that these do not explain profit loss account and balance sheet in its conventional form. It does not explain the sources of receiving money and the sources on which it has spent. For example, company A has received money by way of sales. Company has received 5 crore because of loan. In both companies, there will be inflow of rupees 5 crore, but the source of inflow is drastically different. Also, there are several limitations of those statements which we discussed while discussing the ratio analysis. So to overcome those limitations, we prepare fund flow statement. How do we prepare fund flow statement? We can follow 4 steps: 1, 2, 3, 4. Overall is just summary of this one. First of all, we may calculate funds from working capital. Funds from working capital. Second, we may calculate funds from fixed assets. Third, we can calculate funds from long-term liabilities. And fourth, we can calculate funds from business operations. That is funds from generating from profit and loss account. Now, each one of these will result in either a source of fund or application of funds. Source of fund or application of fund. If I look at this data, no. For example, if I tell you here I ask you that equity, value of equity in 2017 was 50,000 and in 2018 it is 75,000. What do we conclude looking at this data? If we say the in company's balance sheet of 2017, equity shares amount is 50,000 and in 2018 it is 75,000. What is the conclusion of this one? The company has issued fresh equity shares for rupees 75,000. Can we say this or not?
Yes, 25,000.
20. What is this 25,000? Inflow or outflow?
Inflow.
Inflow.
Inflow. Correct. Inflow. Now, if we say instead of equity, if we say bank loan, and bank loan we say bank loan in 2017 was 1,50,000 and in 2018 it is 75,000. What does it mean?
Outflow.
Outflow. And what is the otherwise meaning of this? That during the year company has paid 75 lakh rupees, some company has returned 75 lakh rupees. That means each change in the balance sheet in fixed assets or long-term liability could be a source, could be an application. Same will be true with respect to other items. How do we do that? That I have tried to explain to you with the help of 4 steps. So I'll explain to you some of these steps now. What is step number 1? Calculation of working capital. Now, you know the meaning of working capital. What is the meaning of working capital? Difference between current assets and current liabilities. How do we do that? I have mentioned here steps very clearly. Find out current assets of previous year. So whatever is the data of previous year, we can calculate the value of current assets. For example, it is X, or let us say it is 2 lakh. We have assumed. Find out current liabilities of previous year, say Y, and it is 1,40,000. So what will be the net working capital? Difference between X and Y, which is 60,000. So that means this is net working capital of previous year. Because data will be given for 2 years. So net working capital we have calculated for 1 year, that is previous year. Similarly, calculate net working capital of current year. CY means current year. Calculate the values of current year. We calculated, just assume some data, and we have calculated these values, which is, let us say 75,000. If you call this as the year, you may call any year, let us say year 2019, previous year, and what will this year be? 2020. So from, okay, this I have just like that mentioned. I have already mentioned here. So what is the conclusion that one can draw, or what is the meaning of this 75,000? Difference between the two is 75,000. During the period of 1 year, working capital has increased by rupees 75,000. Compared to previous year, the working capital has increased by rupees 25,000. Earlier I said each difference will either be a source or application. Is this a source or application?
Application.
Okay, why is it application? Working capital is increasing or decreasing?
Increasing.
Increasing. Why is it increasing? From 60 to 75. It is increasing. So increase is source or application? Increase is application. Why is it increase application? I can explain to you with the help of some more examples. See, working capital components are current assets minus current liabilities. Let us take any component of any one of these. You will be able to know that working capital is increasing or decreasing. Source or application. Let us say stock. Stock in the previous year was 10,000. Current year is 12,000. So 2,000 change is source or application? Your 2,000 rupees have been blocked. So it is certainly an application. Similarly, take any example of liability. Your creditors were 10,000 rupees. Now the creditors are 8,000. So this 2,000 is source or application?
Application.
Application, because you would have paid them only then it has been reduced. So first step is we calculate changes in net working capital, find the difference between the two, and accordingly it becomes a source or application. If working capital reduces, it is an application. Then we calculate changes in fixed assets. For example, fixed assets, any fixed asset, furniture, building, machinery, land, anything. If in 2019 it was 1 lakh and 2018 it is 60,000, what is the inference? What is this 40,000? Source or application?
Source.
Source, because we would have sold for rupees 40, that is why it has been reduced. It is a source. Because fixed assets are subject to depreciation, therefore we do not take them at their face value. We also adjust depreciation. Part. To adjust depreciation part, a simple and a better way is to prepare the fixed assets account. In this you have two values with you, 1 lakh and 60,000. If you open furniture account, let us say this fixed asset was furniture. If you prepare a ledger of this account, what is this opening balance? Which side will you write the opening balance? This is the closing balance. Which side closing balance is written, debit or credit?
Credit.
So we have written closing balance. Opening balance we have written this side. You have one more information. Let us say these assets were subject to depreciation of 20%. Suppose depreciation was 20%. In this case, let us say 20%. Say 20%. So what would have been the value of depreciation? 20% of 60,000 is 12,000. So 12,000 we have written depreciation. Why depreciation has been written on credit side?
Because it is an expense.
Number one, it is an expense, but in the asset, why is it coming? No, this logic perhaps will not do. If it is an expense, the depreciation should have been debited, because expenses are debited.
Because it is decreasing the value of furniture.
The asset's value is decreasing.
Not again the logic. The logic lies in understanding the journal entry and ledger. When you charge depreciation, the entry you pass is depreciation debit to assets. In this case, depreciation debit to furniture. And when you prepare furniture account, in furniture account, opposite is given depreciation. Therefore, you write depreciation in the credit side of furniture account. When three figures you have incorporated, the balancing figure would be your purchase or sales. This side is 112, this side is, naturally we will write the same figure here and we find out the balance. It is 52,000. This is your purchase or this is your outflow. Assume certain figures and accordingly the calculations can be made. In the absence of it, you can simply take the difference between these two figures. Likewise, changing in long-term liabilities. If you assume that your equity is a liability was 2 lakh and opening balance was 150, just now I explained to you, it is your, this why change 50,000? This is your inflow of funds because you have issued 50. Is it possible to have these two figures reversed?
Yes, sir.
What will be the implication?
If the investors sold back their shares,
To whom will they sell? To whom will they sell? To the company or to other investors?
to other investors.
So will it affect the balance sheet of company? It will not.
No, sir.
That means this situation which I explained to you, which I wanted you to tell me, is imaginary, is not practical. Is not practical. Therefore, likewise, there can be several other long-term liabilities like debentures, preferentials, bank loan. The changes in any one of them, any side increase or decrease, will either be inflow or outflow. To make it more clear, we can once again prepare a ledger. Opening balance 150, closing balance 200, difference is 50, which is your, you have made calculation, and I have used here word bank. Why has bank been used? I have used bank and that too in credit side. It has been used because when company issues shares, money is received in bank, so bank balance increases, bank account debit. And liability is also increasing, therefore increase in liability is credited, equity share capital account would have been credited. And when we prepare equity share capital account, because it appeared in credit side, we write its opposite, that is bank. So we may calculate changes in long-term liabilities. This requires a long discussion. This I will take up tomorrow. For the time being, one, you should be able to understand the calculation of net working capital, the calculation of changes in any fixed assets, the calculation and changes in any, what you call, long-term liability. So in these 3 steps, or in the ratio analysis, or for that matter anything that we have discussed so far from day 1 till date, you can see clarification. And so far as your question that you posted on the in the group also, I don't remember whether in the group or individually, I have passed it on to the teachers, the concern of those people who joined late. If they wish to give any weightage to the matter available on the Google Classroom, they should certainly consider that the people who joined, let us say 1 month after the classes started, so there is no way they can upload their assignment there. Even if they wish to, it will all show 2 months late, 3 months late. So something which is beyond their control, admission was not in their control. So why should they be penalized for that thing? So that part, I'm sure, will be taken care of. Yes, and also if there were some genuine reason with someone else because of this pandemic, you all can write, either to me or to them, okay, you had these problems in this time, so they should give some due consideration to this if it is genuine. Yes, tell me if you have any clarification to seek up to this stage. In anything that we started from day 1 till date.
Sir, I have a question.
Yes.
It is a bit off the topic.
No, sure. Go ahead.
Sir, if one shareholder sells his shares in the stock market, another shareholder buys, then why does the share price falls when there is no?
Okay. Just apply very, very elementary level of economics. Everything is dependent on the, demand and supply. Why would a person sell this share? He may be in need of money. He may think that the in future share price may fall, isn't it? There could be one more reason. Why would someone else buy it? Why would someone buy? He needs to invest some money. He has extra money. He wants to make investment. He has several options, and he zeroed down on the option of buying shares, making investment in shares. He feels that in future share price may rise. That is the simple logic. Beneath these logic, there are several factors which operate in the market. If you have some money, extra money, what would you like to do with that money? You may have several answers. You have an opportunity to keep it in the bank. You look for a bank which gives you more return, more interest. If the money is adequate, you buy some gold. You buy some, there are people who will not buy in anything. They will go for highly unconventional investment. They will buy some painting of M.F. Hussain, any other artist of the world. People will make any kind. There are some people who will do nothing of this sort. They will lend this money to their friend without any interest. Do you see such people around or not?
No,
so
sir.
Just keep one thing in mind. I will have to perhaps, this is what is as of now planned. If everything goes well, I'll be teaching you financial management. In financial management, there will be a topic called cost of equity. There will be about 1 complete hour lecture in explaining to your question. Complete 1 hour will be spent in explaining to you why is it somebody purchases and why is it that somebody sells. Somebody who sells thinks that he has made a profit, and somebody who purchases also thinks that he has made a profit. And this activity takes place in the market in millions and billions of rupees every day whenever there is a functioning of a stock market, whenever stock market remains open, if we talk about worldwide. So partly it should answer you, but it requires lot of discussion that will be perhaps clear then. Any other question?
So, do companies buy back their shares?
Yes, they do. They do. Because they do not want the control to be rest with huge lot of people. So they buy back. There are 10,000 shareholders. They want to reduce it to 2,000. So from 8,000 they will buy at a higher price. And why would the people sell? As an investor, if I ask you, you want to control the company or you want to make more profit?
Profit.
More profit. At the same time, at the same time, there will be shareholders who will be more interested in controlling the company in long run. So they will not sell. So there are several reasons which are far away. I'm using this word twice, far away from the reality that appears in the textbook or that appears in the examinations or in the sessional test. That world is entirely different. Number one, I as an individual, I'm not that comfortable or that have that authority. I'm a little bit, I know, because I have served in the company at senior positions. But those are something which cannot be taught in the classroom. Several unethical practices people resort to become successful. Most of the time they become also. In the long run they do not. Those are all unethical matters. How do they resort to? See, for example, if you have gold in a particular quantity, then the wealth tax will be payable on that or not? Legally speaking, it will be payable. Okay, you convert that gold into a shop, that you are running a shop and it is your closing stock. On closing stock, the tax will not be payable. So doing so was good or bad? Or the action of Sachin Tendulkar. Some of you, before whom this was discussed, under which category he pays taxes?
Artist,
Artist. And what is he in reality?
cricketer, sports person.
A sports person. So is he right in doing so or not?
No, sir.
See, there is something called law. There is something called ethics. There is something called, there is no end to this discussion. And unfortunately, we are running short of time. Already you joined late. And unfortunately or fortunately, whatever you call, I also could not engage classes for some time. Had there been enough of time, we would have discussed these things in detail, which would have enriched you to some extent. Okay, ask me any other question if you have.
So, continuing the question, I want to ask, does it impact the balance sheet, the buyback of shares?
No, it does not. It does not.
All right, thank you.
Only the ownership changes. Previously, the shares were held by persons starting from, say, Mr. 1, 2, 3 up to 10,000. Now it will be only Mr. 3 or Mr. 4. That's it. Okay. If no questions are there, we will meet tomorrow, inshallah.
Sir,
But do
excuse me, sir. So yesterday you have asked that if someone wants to pay then and there without considering that average credit payment period, then which convention is violated?
Just now, before starting the class, I told you are referring to the payment instead of availing credit being made immediately, isn't it?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
It was rationality. Before starting the class, I explained to you it was rationality because the reason I explained to you was, perhaps you could have joined a bit late. The reason of explaining to you was, suppose somebody gives you a credit of rupees 1 crore for 1 month and you want to pay immediately. Instead, so you are being irrational. Why? You avail, if you have 1 crore rupees, you could pay today, don't pay. You deposit that money in the bank and you will get some money. So why do you want to incur losses knowingly? So it is against rationality.
Okay, sir.